Welcome to the Big Time Thinking Podcast. This content is brought to you by taking thousands of arrows right in the back and doing something about it. With winking at girls in the dark.
Get them to sign on the line which is dotted.
And get ready to scale your sales, your dealership, your business, your life, your family, and your friends with Big Time Thinking.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Without further ado, here is the founder and CEO of Big Time Advertising, Terry McCauley.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Buckle up. Reality starts right fucking now.
And we're back for our next podcast. Always love my Monday podcast. I've become kind of addicted to these in terms of I feel like it's the best way to start my week off, and I hope you're doing the same thing. Downloading these when they're fresh, get that little alert that says new podcast available from Big Time Thinking, because I'm starting to get a lot more feedback from people. I hope you're sharing it and bringing more people into our culture on how we can build a better dealership, better business, better life. This has been good medicine for myself. I feel like I'm becoming a better business owner as I sit and review things I've known forever and give them deeper thought and say, man, I got to apply that to my own business. So hope it's working for you. Again, can't encourage you enough to comment, reply, send us an email. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. We will do it. We've got some exciting guests coming up next couple of weeks, but we're going to get rolling today. Today, I've been spending time on a lot of these podcasts. You know, you've heard me spend time on firing people quickly, building rapport. But I thought, I've been giving some thought over the weekend. What does a big time performing dealership culture look like? How do you create a culture that just flat out wins? And the more you get to know me, you'll realize I spend more time and energy on organizational behavior, how people think, why they think, because I think it all plays into creating a culture that wins consistently. And I call that a big time performing culture. What does it look like? What are the ones that do it well? What do they have in common that the ones that don't? Okay. And so in my experience the last few years of visiting hundreds of dealerships is how apparent the winning cultures have it and the ones that don't do not. And I've given it thought to my own stores that we consistently scaled and did more gross and always had what I considered a really good culture. What is it we did that I knew worked? Okay. And so you've got to think about your own culture. And I think sometimes we all have this perception of what our culture is, but if we sat and gave it some real deep thought about reality and are honest with ourselves, we'll find that there are some things we can work on. As I brainstormed this topic and gave it thought for my own ad agency, there were a couple I highlighted and said, man, I got to work at that a little better. So we'll kind of go through this endeavor and just see which ones pop out. But I want to spend some time thinking again about what high-performing, big-time cultures do purposely, not by accident. The things they just flat out do day in and day out that makes them better than the other dealers and businesses. I will tell you, they're created with intent. They don't just walk in with this attitude of, let's see how things play out. There's a strategy behind it that works, because what we want to do is build and sustain a high performance dealership culture. It's not this destination thing. It's not like we want to become this dealership. It's either you are or you aren't. And then when you are, it's not a destination. We did it. It's a daily thing, because this can get off the rails real quick if you're not careful. So you should never expect to arrive at this destination. You don't ever get there, guys. The culture is constantly being tweaked with. It's constantly being sought out, and you've got to constantly be wanting to have this big time, high performing culture. Okay? You've got to understand that. You're engaged in a long-term work, right? It's going to challenge you. It'll frustrate you. I know it does me. It will stretch your mind. But in the end, if it's done right, it will ultimately not only fulfill you, but your business that you're trying to scale and your dealer that you want to do better. So anything that exhausts you, anything that you put everything you got into it, it's going to frustrate you. But don't let the frustrations make you quit on it. Embrace the challenge. Embrace it. So I've given it a lot of thought. What are some things that big time cultures do that others do not? So I'm going to just randomly go through them and just give some thought on ones I have. I came up with a list of 21 of them. I may get through all of them. I may not. And some of them may merge, so I may go through some quicker than others. But let's get it rocking and rolling. I kind of hinted at it, but the first one for me is that big time cultures, they have crystal clear clarity. Okay, it's like 20/20 vision, and this includes their vision, sometimes their mission statements, their values, what it is they value as a company, and expectations of performance for everybody in the entire organization, in the entire dealership. Okay, I mean they're crystal clear. Okay, so crystal clear means is they have to be written and defined for everybody. Whether it starts with your employee manual, or sales manual, something you're just handing to them, they sign off on, and it's forgotten, or are these visited during your one-on-ones we've talked about in the past that you're doing? When you're speaking with an employee that works for you, are you mentioning sometimes, hey, why are we doing this? This doesn't match our values. If we value honesty, right? Hey, don't candy coat this. Did you just candy coat that a little bit? Like, you're not a liar, but like if we value it, you got to bring it up and it's crystal clear in your conversations as you manage and grow your team, right? If you value punctuality, do you talk about it? When someone's 1 minute late, hey dude, what are we doing late, man? I thought we were getting here on time, right? So like it's crystal clear so that when everyone leaves, they know exactly what the culture's trying to achieve. Okay? It's not this belittling, but it's crystal clear. Everybody knows that's the goal, that's the vision, and those are our expectations for performance. Okay, so if as a dealer we've never sold 200 units a month, we've always consistently hit 175, well, maybe you got to set clear expectations of how we're going to sell 225, right? Not just 200, because again, it's not a destination, it's a constantly tweaking so that we can grow and go beyond our imagination and just flat go get it. But the culture starts with crystal clear clarity. Only you can decide what that clarity is, but hopefully it's one that's laser focused, as I'm talking about, on creating a big time culture that's productive for everyone. Okay? So with that, obviously we're going to talk about personnel because we have to. I know I did a podcast earlier on Fire Quickly, but before that, another key to what big time cultures do, they make it extremely difficult to be hired. Right? It can't be just like, oh yeah, come on in, man. We'll throw you in. We'll see how it goes. You've got to put applicants through the ringer. Okay? And when I say through the ringer, it can't be one person being interviewed. You've got to send them over to the finance manager, not just the sales desk. Then I'd make my controller interview someone. People say, why, dude? Because controllers, they're going to deal with all the personalities in an organization, and they're either going to fit in the team or they're not. Right? So if the team has buy-in on someone they're hiring, everybody's got buy-in from the beginning. They're going to all help train this person when you're not able to train. They're emotionally involved in somebody that they want to win with that team. And I'm telling you, that's what big-time cultures do that perform. They get buy-in from everybody, so they make getting hired difficult. And then so when people have a job, they're proud of it. Like, dude, this wasn't an easy job to get. Remember, did they make you have them interviewed by the friggin' cleanup manager if you got a good cleanup manager? But they use hiring as an elimination process so that we don't have to fire people, right? It's expensive to hire someone and then have them fail. It's like, if we ever talk about that, it's like ungodly expensive. So when we're hiring, we want to have an elimination process. Something might come up to someone else on your team that's important that we have blinders on because we're just hyper focused on, if they sell, man, they told me they can sell, I think they can sell. Well, are you too closed-minded or too big of an ego to not allow someone else in another department, maybe your parts manager, let everybody interview them, put them through the ringers, and then have a group discussion so that when we decide to hire someone, maybe there was 3 candidates, and I'm not saying each and every candidate you interview, I'm talking about ones you're really getting serious about hiring, narrow it down to the 3 for one position, and they all get interviewed by everybody. But you've got to make it difficult to be hired. That's one thing that big-time cultures do. Tell you, another thing that big-time cultures are doing, as I gave it more thought, is they then have strong accountability and literally zero entitlement, okay? So what's entitlement? We all know what it is. He's been here the longest. He's entitled to the internet leads. He's always gotten the internet leads, okay? Well, in 1990, when no one knew how to do the internet, that was fine. But why is anyone entitled to anything? We want to have strong accountability for performance and very little entitlement. No one here is entitled to nothing, right? They're not your leads, and you got to make that crystal clear to your salespeople. If you're a desking manager or someone meeting with your one-on-ones, how many times you have sales guys walk in and say, "That's my lead." I would nip that in the bud. Hold up. Whose lead is it? And they'd say, "Oh no, you're right. It's ABC Dodge's lead." Correct, right? None of us are entitled to these leads. We're all blessed to represent these leads for our owner. Okay, so you've got to nip in the bud this right of entitlement, and strong accountability is more important. Say, yeah, you were assigned the lead that is the lead of the dealerships, and you were representing us, but you didn't follow up in 24 hours. So I had reassigned it to a guy that wants it and is hungry. Okay, so that would be a small way of having strong accountability and very little entitlement. Too many managers are afraid to move a lead to someone else that wasn't responded to. Sorry, I reward accountability, right? I'm going to have strong accountability, and there's nobody's entitled just to do what they want with a lead. So again, I've just noticed that's what the big time performing cultures do, and I did the same thing. When I come up, hey, where are we at with this lead? Oh, I haven't followed up. Great, no problem. You're no longer handling it. I got someone else that's more hungry. Okay, that'll only happen 1 or 2 times. They'll get mad, and they'll either get over it, and if they don't get over it, I'll replace them. Okay, but what am I doing? I didn't make it personal, dude, nothing personal. I just have to have the leads followed up with immediately. So the entitlement's gone, accountability is 100%. Okay, so then I gave it some more thought to that. Like, we're talking about accountability and entitlement. So what I want you to do is start rewarding results over tenure, right? And experience or credentials. Who cares about how long you've been here, brother? Who cares? I don't. I'm going to reward results, okay? So it made me think of when I was managing at Bob Brady Dodge in Decatur, Illinois, and I always had some form of it. Again, my last name being McCauley, I called it the Mac Daddy Club, right? You could be a part of the Mac Daddy Club. So what was the Mac Daddy Club? It was the top 20% performers of my entire sales team. That was the only way in the Mac Daddy Club. It was a rolling 90-day average. If you were the highest salesperson with total units in that rolling 90, you got a Mac Daddy membership card. I even had it printed in color and went and had it laminated, okay? So I was going to reward results, not tenure. I don't care how long you've been there. So then I made sure I had 2 parking spots that were reserved, or 3 if you had enough. Whatever that 20% is, that's Mac Daddy guys get to park there, okay? They get the results. All house leads went to only Mac Daddy people. Same thing in my agency. Like, who's my top selling performers? Those are the ones I reward. When someone came up to me, how come you never give me any of those leads? Because you're not in the Mac Daddy Club. Get in it, right? So whatever you want to call it, I reward results, right? So create this culture of people going, damn, I want to get up there, and they can't point the finger at anybody. It's not like I don't have favoritism. Nope, sorry, dude, that guy gets them because he's outselling you right now. Okay, so there's only one way in it, and it's become the best salesperson. And what it does is that tenured guy who was successful and your best sales guy 5 years ago, who you're still coddling, that will end. He'll either get with the program, move on, or he'll have buy-in and work harder. And I will tell you, we could talk about averages. Everybody sold 1 more than what you're currently selling without raising advertising rates. Guess what? The dealership wins and we start growing. So you've got to reward results over tenure. It's key. So then, I started thinking another thing on my thought process of that is then with it, you've got to celebrate excellence, right? And start weeding out the weak. So what does celebrate excellence mean? And guys, I mean daily. It can't be this monthly, hey guys, great job. We had a great month. Here's our top 2 salespeople. Everybody does that, and it's kind of anticlimactic. And 9 times out of 10 when you're doing it, you're already on to the next month, and you probably have a slow start because you're sitting there taking too long celebrating yesterday's results. So how would I best celebrate excellence? Every single day, every single hour, right? I think we get so busy when we're trying to manage salespeople that we're not down in the weeds where we need to be in celebrating individual excellence, right? Look at a guy's daily plan and say, damn, nice freaking job, David. How'd you do that, man? You just got an appointment out of a customer you've been calling for a week. You finally got him. What the hell did you do? That's the stuff you should be knuckling, right? Not yelling at them for not getting that person in, right? So if you start celebrating excellence, the mind starts to shift. I want those kudos again, right? Employees love getting kudos. I love them as a manager, as an owner, right? As an owner, I got to seek out celebrating excellence. And we all like the pat on the back. And then you'll weed out the weak. right? They'll be like, damn, he never says nice job. No, I just want excellence. Whatever that is, celebrate it, right? Keep track of it. Maybe one in a meeting every day you're pointing out something different. Hey Tom, I want to call you out real quick. I've just looking at the timesheet. Here's Tom. He hasn't been late one time in a year. Does anybody know that? That's a guy that's a winner. I need more of those on my team. Celebrate the excellence, okay? Certainly celebrate hat tricks. Celebrate first out for the day. Celebrate most appointments set for the day. Celebrate phone conversions, internet lead conversions. But if it's excellence and they did it exactly the way you want it, celebrate it, okay? And I assure you, it will start to weed out the weak. Weak hate being around excellence, all right? We all hear misery loves company. You will eliminate them if all we're talking about is excellence. So don't quit empowering the weak in order to strengthen. I got that backwards. Quit weakening the strong performers in your group just to strengthen the weak. And we do that when we're constantly giving all of our attention and energy to those that are weak. What that does, it weakens the strong and it empowers the weak ones in your group. So start celebrating excellence. I can't stress that enough. With that, then I was like, you know what? Peer evaluations popped up in my head, and I tell you, the top big time performing cultures, they do peer evaluations, and they make sure the welfare of the entire sales team or your department are a priority over any one member's personal comfort level, right? If you're making exceptions to your rules and clear expectations for one person on your team, what do you think it does to the welfare of the team when they get together? They see it. They may not say anything to you right away. So this is why it has to be managed daily. We're not here for anyone's personal comfort level, right? If you have certain expectations of workspaces being tidy, and all of a sudden you have a new person sitting there and you walk up and papers are everywhere, his desk is just an ultimate shit show, and you let it go and turn a blind eye, but then you have these meetings about how important cleanliness is, well, guess what? The team sees you as a weak leader, and you're hurting your culture. So you want to make the welfare of the team a priority, okay? And as a priority, then here's what I would do in a team. I'd call someone out and say, "Hey, dude, your workspace isn't what we expect. Look at all your fellow sales guys. They have a kick-ass workspace." One of my biggest pet peeves there was a guy eating a breakfast sandwich or gal at their desk, and they didn't have to be there till 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. Like, dude, breakfast happens before we come to work. You don't get to work and then start eating breakfast sandwiches at your workspace. That's like awful first impressions, all kinds of reasons. But when you let that guy have his personal comfort level while he's sitting there having his breakfast sandwich because he can't get to work on time, and the team's out there lining up cars, filling holes overnight, putting balloons up, doing things that winners do, you're hurting the welfare of the team because you want someone's personal comfort level better. Now, the way to measure that sometimes you don't see it all. Start doing peer evaluations once a quarter. Hey, and shake them up and do them different. Today I want David to evaluate Tom, and Tom's evaluating Betsy. But start doing them, and you'll be stunned by some of the results, and it'll give you leadership vision so that I can keep that welfare of the team a priority. Okay, that's just got to happen. So then we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to make sure you're distributing your rewards, opportunities, and pay in accordance with what one earns. Not, again, past performance and just equally across the board. Hey, you've been here a year, everybody gets a raise. That's not, I get it. If you're doing the minimums, if you got certain employees that are on minimum wage and you need to stay at the times, not referring to that, but basically distribute bonuses, opportunities based in what they've earned, not on past performance, right? That's key. How many of you guys can look in the mirror right now and your highest paid salesperson hasn't been the top sales performer in the past year? Okay? I'm saying base guarantee, right? Or they don't have to work for the money anymore because they've been there so long, and you can't imagine, oh, dude, they're loyal. No, they're guys, forget that. Start giving rewards and opportunities to those that are performing for you. I kind of touched on it earlier, but I just wanted to hit on it again because I know that's one thing that big time performing cultures are doing. Just start distributing those rewards and opportunities to those that have earned it, not on past performance. That's a big one. So then the next one, and this is probably speaking to owners and then general managers over managers, you've got to hold leaders to you've got to hold them to a far higher standard than your followers. Okay, so a leader is a manager, right? And if you've got a leader in your group, you've got to hold them to a much higher standard than those that are just followers. Okay? If you're constantly managing the followers, but you don't hold the standard for the leader, do you realize how backwards you've got it? Right? You're thumbing your energy. He or she is a natural leader. Well, then you've got to hold them to a higher standard so that they're leading with excellence and putting their best foot forward with someone you're holding to a higher standard than the followers. Make sense? So if I'm celebrating, if I've got two guys or gals that have been my leaders on my sales team, I'm going to hold them to higher standards than the ones just following because they're my excellent. I might pull them in, hey guys, I need you to lead here. I know you're my best salespeople, but people look up to you and I can't have you sitting down when we're out lining up cars. Okay? So again, it goes back to having clear expectations, but I'm not going to hold the leaders to less expectations. I'm going to hold them to more than just the followers. Guys, can't stress that enough. So then with that, I was like, okay, what are some other things that big time performing cultures do? Well, I will tell you this much. They create a desire to come to work to prove themselves again and again each day. They don't borrow credibility from past performance. And again, you're saying, well, this is similar to what I've said earlier. No, it's not. But what I want you to be laser focused on is quit letting your guys gals that have been there forever cash royalty checks for stuff they did once upon a time, right? I mean, there's so many sales guys. You walk up and ask them, hey, how many you sell a month? And they'll tell you 18, right? But if you do a little research, they haven't sold 18. And everybody in the whole dealership thinks they sell 18. But he or she hasn't sold 18 in over 2 years. They did it once in June, which was the biggest tent sale we ever had. And now they float around with doing 14 to 15, but they still tell everybody they do 18. Call that bullshit out, okay? Don't let them cash that check from what they did once upon a time. I used to do that to some of my sales guys. I was like, man, dude, I need to call you at bedtime because you tell the best bedtime stories of anybody I ever met once upon a time. So I don't know if I was stumbling there, but I want to make sure you understand that they come to work to prove themselves day in and day out. And that's for all of us. I've said it probably now on almost 70% of my podcast. The difference between a rut and a grave is the depth. Either way, you got to get moving. Big time performing cultures, they manage that day in and day out, and they create that desire to prove it day in and day out. Hey, you had a hat trick yesterday. That don't mean shit today, right? So we got to go get it. Don't let them cash a check on what they did yesterday. It doesn't mean because they were awesome for you last week that they get to cruise this week, okay? And down deep, people want that culture. That's how you're going to create this culture that's go, 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 go. With that being said, now this is a harder one, but the big time performing cultures definitely do it. You've got to start facing reality about your own people, right? And your own strategy sometimes and the results. Then you've got to make lightning fast adjustments. You've got to start facing reality about your people. You can't live in denial, right? If you've got someone who takes 12 cigarette breaks a day, you're living in denial. You've got to face reality about people. People don't change. If you've got a liar on you, those are simple. Get rid of liars, right? Thieves and cheats. Get rid of them. But you've got to start being realistic. If you know something's personal going on in their lives, you can't live in denial that you're coddling some things that he's got to leave on the street that he's got to take care of now. So face reality about your people. You've got to face reality about the strategy and the results you expect and make fast adjustments. If you see a guy, if you're rolling averages, if anybody falls below 9 a month, you're subject to be fired. Well, you got to hold people to that standard. If you have these standards over and over and you never fire anyone over it, then the standard is a joke, and so are you. So you've got to make these fast adjustments about your people. You can't, if you're someone who has a draw, but you don't make people hold, if they don't achieve it, you're like, it's okay, get them started next month. Well, then it's really not a draw, is it, right? You're coddling people. So you've got to face reality, and then you got to make lightning fast adjustments. With that, I think then is my next thought is with that, you've got to have this laser focus on the aspects of your business that we can control. Remember my Serenity Prayer. Guys, if you haven't listened to my Serenity Prayer podcast, go back and listen to it because it is an excellent one. But this is kind of what I'm focusing on. The big time performing cultures, they have this laser focus on the aspects of the business that they can control, right? And if you can control it, you've got to control it. You can't complain. You can't be a complainer about stuff that you can't control. And a lot of times that's outside conditions, right? If you have nothing to do with it, especially your competitors or all the bullshit, and this goes in with my next point on what big time performing cultures do. They kind of go hand in hand. We must have a low threshold for excuses, guys. And that's where you've got to have this laser-like focus. You got to be laser focused on the aspects of your business that we can control. I can control if my people show up late. I can control if we talk to people rude. I can control if we give customers armpit treatment, where they're just pointing where the bathroom is as opposed to walking them there. I can control those things. And you've got to have a low threshold for excuse. If a guy tells you, oh, sorry, I pointed to the bathroom because I had a call on hold. That's a bullshit excuse. Love the one you're with, and we all know it, right? But hustle. Smile. If someone tells you, sorry, I'm having a rough day, there's no excuse for being rude to a customer. You've got to have this laser focus, guys. It goes back to some of the other points I said about a big-time performing culture. You can't make excuses. You've got to be laser focused, and you've got to have clear expectations. And the clear expectations happen when you have the low threshold for excuses, right? Everybody wants to say, oh, we're slow because it's been hot outside. Oh, we're slow because it's homecoming week in my small little podunk town. Quit having this threshold where excuses count. Excuses don't matter, and it's for myself included. When I was a manager, you can't be afraid to look at your people and say, I failed you here. That's bullshit. I'm more pissed off than you think I am. If you do those things, you will create a culture where people respect you and respect each other, and you're going to get the thing moving. You've just got to learn to hold people accountable for hitting numbers, and all those levels of excuses won't work at all. So those are things that are important to me. Some other thoughts that came to mind, and I'll move through some of them a little quicker, but that contribute to a big time performing culture is, do you foster robust dialogue within the organization? And this is important to me. So you need to encourage employees to challenge the status quo, right? And make waves when it can improve the organization. Too many leaders and managers don't ever want to learn. And there's a problem. I would go walk back to my cleanup department, and I wanted my cleanup employees where people say, oh, what are you asking them for? I'll tell you why, because they see every car that goes out that's clean. They can tell me which salespeople come back there and smoke more cigarettes. They can tell me where we're wasting keychains. They can tell me where the keys go missing, why they go missing. And some people are like, dude, you're back there talking to the cleanup guy. You're damn right I am. That guy's important to my organization, and I put a priority on him. So I want to create a culture where robust dialogue is encouraged, and employees are encouraged to come forward when they can challenge the status quo that will make us a better organization. Okay? If you're the leader that squelches that, you're a fucking dick. All right? And I say it like that because you are. Don't be a fucking dick. If someone's genuinely trying to improve the organization. Now, you also don't want that person to be a whiner. There's a fine line. Well, we always do this. So don't allow, and that's my next point, don't allow someone to come to you with a problem without a way to resolve it. Okay? That's how you create a culture that's a winning culture. If they have a better way to line up cars, then let's figure out a better way to make my cars look tight, right? If I have a sales guy who has a better way to take it up and respond to someone faster, let's figure it out. Especially with internet leads and Facebook and all these different ways we're getting leads. If we have someone willing to bring the dialogue that makes our culture better and get us better results and break the status quo, I'm all for that, guys. Because status quo, as we all know, is sometimes poison for success. All right? Another thing that big time cultures do, and I want to hit this quickly, is leaders and managers, you got to insist on training and skill development. The best dealerships do that. The best businesses do it. They insist on training and skill development. No one is ever considered as good enough. Why am I doing podcasts? Because I learn right now doing these. I tell you, there's 5 of them I got to work on in here. But I insist on training and skill development. If we don't, we eventually will become extinct. You've got to constantly train and demand skill development. If you're a manager saying we're too busy this week, we're skipping training, you're headed down. I'm just telling you, you're not a big-time winning culture. And no one's excused from the training. Oh, you're my best sales guy. You don't need it. Nope, I expect you in there. I don't care. Figure it out. You guys know it's on the counter. It's not going away. And then eventually, hopefully, you're hiring people that demand you train. And they're pissed off at you when you don't train. Because no one is ever good enough, right? And so that's where it leads into my next thought is you want strong peer pressure to perform, not strong peer pressure to not perform, right? So there's a difference, right? The cancers of your dealership and business are the ones that are the peer pressure saying, hey, we don't need it. The cars are good enough. I want to create a culture where the peer pressure is so strong, we're encouraging each other to perform. Hey, you know what? And again, that's when I celebrate excellence. When I see someone pushing each other to be better, celebrate that so everybody on the team knows you're creating a culture of someone that wins, okay? Yeah, I'm diving deep into big-time performing cultures because, guys, the culture creates winners, right? When they say you build great people, not great businesses, this is the stuff where it happens. So demonstrating the ability to have strong peer pressure for things to perform, that's a big one. Couple more to hit on. I want resiliency, right? Yes, we're going to lose from time to time, but we've got to have a way to regroup and come back. Losing's got to become the fluke, right? And winning's got to become the trend. So again, nip it in the bud when you know you got a problem. Celebrate winning the very next day. If you had 0 sold the last day, shake it off, but you got to come guns a-blazing, right? And you got to keep breaking records every day. I've already hit on it. You got to fire fast, guys. Quit coddling and the bunglers and your underachievers for long. Just get rid of them and move on. They're killing your culture. Fire lightning fast. I did a whole podcast on it if you want to listen, but I will tell you the big time cultures, yes, they make it difficult to be hired, but they fire like lightning fast. If you've got an underachiever, why are they there? If you've got an excuse giver, why are they there? Get rid of them, fire fast. Then you got to become solution oriented, right? You want to create solutions. Again, I hit on it earlier, but I wanted to hit it again because it's important. It is kind of a separate point from coddling and encouraging dialogue from the organization, but you definitely want to become solution oriented. What's the solution, right? If traffic's slow, instead of bitching about it, what's the answer to getting more traffic? It's not just calling your ad agency and saying the ads suck. Like, that's an excuse giver, right? Like, how are we doing with follow-ups? What's the solution? How are we going to get more people to show up, maybe with more energy, instead of creating this culture of we're defeated? Then you got, and with that means we got to find people that accept responsibility. Do you have managers say, nope, it's not good enough, it's on me? Do you have a finance manager that says, my back end average profit's my fault? Or do you have the one that's constantly going, I'm getting all the cash deals, you're putting wholesale in here, everybody's throwing out rate out there on the floor, and they don't ever take responsibility? I tell you guys, those are as dangerous as anybody in the organization. You've got to nip that in the bud. As a GM, I went in and said, hey, hold up. That guy's job is sell a car. All he needs to do here is great job. Celebrate excellency. Approach it. Now, if I got a finance manager that has a solution on how to get his averages up, let's have the discussion. As long as it's positive and building to each other. But we're not going to waste our energy on the freaking blame game. I hate the blame game. If your answer is someone else's, if your answer to your struggles is someone else, I will tell you in the back of my head, I go, there's a loser. I am in the thresholds of a loser. And I won't even give you 2 times a day ever. You're done to me. So find people who accept responsibility. I just had to do it in Houston for one of my dealers. I looked him right in the eye and said, that's on me. There's no excuse for it, and I'll handle it. So the last one then that I wanted to hit on was stock up with employees, right? If it's hard to hire, make it your laser focus to start stocking up on employees who are brilliant in the basics of their job, right? And we know the difference between someone who's brilliant and terrible, right? And cleanup, have people who are brilliant at getting spots out of paint, right? Someone who's brilliant at reshining wheels, someone who's brilliant at cleaning carpet. And I go back to cleanup because, man, they're out there. And when you get one, foster an environment where they're celebrated for kicking ass on a car. If your wholesale guy brings in a car that he didn't think would look good on the front line and they transform it, celebrate that shit and bring them up to your sales staff some meeting. Say, hey guys, this guy here in cleanup, do you guys see what he did to that Honda CRV that we thought would never sell? Go look at it sometime. So start stocking up on people who are brilliant at your job. We know what brilliance is. If you got a guy who's kick-ass in the parts department and knowledgeable and always gets it right, doesn't have to just flip through a book, that's who we want. So start getting people who are 100% brilliant. If you got salespeople that can start reciting sales training and sales books, stock up on them. Because if we're going to ever grow our dealership into a culture that's kick-ass, we've got to have stock in people who are brilliant at their jobs. Don't just focus on ordinary things. Focus on doing extraordinary things, right? Someone who's just hyper-focused on taking it to the next level. Those are my thoughts on what creates a big-time performing culture. I think there's a lot there you can get. Go listen to it again if I went too fast on some of them. But I will tell you, some of us, we all have this perception that, oh man, I got this great culture. When you start hearing and listening to the things I was just pointing out, you'll find that I bet your reality doesn't match it. If that's the case, star a couple of them. Write a couple of them down that didn't work and create yourself a big-time performing culture. And if you do, I promise you, when you look up a year from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, you will have created a dealership, an organization, a business that everyone will be the envy of. And they'll be like, how you did it? How did you do it? I did it by creating culture first. It's gotta be there. So that's our podcast today. Seems like I'm getting longer and longer and more winded, but that's okay. I try to keep them to that 30 minutes. But when I have a lot to say that's valid, we'll do it. Guys, thanks for listening. Please, again, like, we're available on iTunes. We're available on Spotify. You can download on SoundCloud. We're on Facebook. We're out tweeting. It's important you share this. Tag your friends. Make sure they're listening to it. We want more dealerships listening. I want your comments. What did you think of today's podcast? Is there anything you can get? Something you wish I would have, that I missed, that I didn't even say, right? If you've got that attitude of improving the dialogue, do it. I want it on my page. That's the way we will all grow. Other than that, guys, go have a kick-ass week. Go create yourself a big-time performing culture, and I promise you this, you'll make more money than you ever thought you could. Have a great week.